One. Hey, everybody, welcome to bonus stuff. We just got done reviewing Twisters. It was a Twister fun time. So go look at that. And get our thoughts on the food. That's all you need to know about that movie. So usually we do a House of the Dragon review, and I was all ready because this episode gave me the thoughts. But
You can still do it if you want to.
sadly, no one else watched it, so I will wait. I will wait because I don't want to be talking to myself. Um, so there was some news. The biggest news. There wasn't a lot of news, but the biggest news was this whole drama that happened with Tenacious D. So,
Yeah.
did you guys see this? So, Tenacious D was at a concert right after the Trump attempted assassination happened.
We're not political, but we always get close.
I know we're getting close, but we won't go over the edge. So, yeah, Jack Black and Kyle Gass was there, and it was Kyle Gass's birthday, right?
Yeah.
So he brought out. He was like singing "Happy Birthday" to him. They had like a robot with a cake. I don't know what was going on. But then he's like, "Let's make a wish," and Kyle said something that's not very nice. And Jack Black was just kind of speechless. He was like,
Oh.
So later on, there was a lot of backlash because people weren't too happy with what Kyle had said. And they came out with some apologies. But Jack Black was like, I was in the moment. I didn't know what to say, basically. And, we're sorry about that. And they canceled the tour, right? They kind of
Yeah.
canceled Tenacious D.
Mhm.
If you read his thing, because he's like, well, we don't have nothing planned past this. And then so Kyle put out an apology too on, I think it was Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And then, but later we find out, I think it was yesterday. So if you guys have heard any other stuff on it, let me know. But I think the latest I heard was Kyle actually had taken down his apology from Instagram, deleted it. So Jack Black is like even more panic mode right now because he doesn't know what to do.
He's like, I gotta voice Bowser in the next movie. I can't be associated with this.
I am the beloved O from Kung Fu Panda. Yeah, so that was pretty much the end of Tenacious D right in front of our eyes. Did you guys have any other thoughts on it?
Also,
No,
Jack Black's
I-
candidate that he raised money for kind of quit the campaign all of a sudden. Not trying to get political here.
You're trying so hard.
I'm really trying not to. It's like,
The day started off, and it was a bunch of like, Tenacious D is dead, and I was like, what the heck happened? And then I heard that, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
yeah.
That makes
Like, I was watching Oompaville, and he was talking about like pretty much Tenacious D is like the reason he got into playing guitar. He's like, I mean, because like Tenacious D was always like that one band you talk about with your friends that's like, oh yeah, do you like Tenacious D? Oh yeah. Like, I mean, I remember us talking about the movie when we were kids, and having the soundtrack, and it's just like one of those bands that you listen to with your buddies a lot. And
Really started off like that comedy rock kind of thing, like
Mhm.
kind of like Ninja Sex Party and stuff like that.
And what's his name? The guy that does the D&D song,
Stephen Lynch.
Stephen Lynch. Yeah, but I, I don't know. It's kind of depressing that all this is happening, but what
yeah.
happens?
Also, he's old. He's gotta. They're always like older people are very not held back with what they support.
I'm gonna say it.
Dude, they're really old. They're looking old. Yeah, I mean, I'm a person who doesn't like get too excited by celebrities and stuff. I'm like, I never want to meet celebrities, and it's just like stuff like this because I know that I probably wouldn't like most of these people if I met them, just because they live in a totally different world than we do. They're rich, and you know,
My
we,
one of my favorite like put downs of celebrities is Ricky Gervais. He's talking like, you guys don't know anything about the real world. You guys know less about the world than Greta Thunberg. Like, stop lecturing people.
Yeah. Yeah, so don't like I don't know.
To be fair, there's a lot of funny Trump memes.
Oh no.
Like the one
Oh,
where he was there was an attempt on my life, and then it's like the Emperor quote from Star Wars. It's left me
Yeah.
deformed and
Yeah.
scarred.
Well, apparently, like they're doing the 50 Cent, what is it, King Killer or whatever, because 50 Cent's been shot, he's been convicted of felonies. And it's like, I was like, and that one of Trump raising his hand,
Yeah.
they have like American Paradise, like explicit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. One more. The one where he's getting shot and he throws up that hand sign. It's like it's a famous like pose from a bodybuilder. He's like,
Yeah.
he threw out the sign just before he got shot.
There was that Mr. Frog one I saw.
Trump's eating his opponent. Oh God.
I think the funniest meme I saw from this was there's this one of Mufasa and Simba, and they're sitting there, and Mufasa's like, everything the light touches belongs to us, or something like it. It's under our protection, or something like. And Simba's like, what about that place? And it shows the building
roof?
with the little slight incline. He's like, not that place. You must never go there.
No, the one meme I liked was like, Anakin, it's over. I have the sloped roof.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh man, this election's just gonna get crazier, people.
Dude, I cannot leave the country in December. Like, I'm done. Like I need a break. Just need a break, guys.
And Kamala has entered the ring. So
Oh God.
we're about to get a lot more memes.
The laughing hyena herself.
Okay, what else there was the
Dude,
news?
I saw a picture of Biden because you know how he dropped out. Dude is old. I didn't realize how old, but I saw a picture of him. I was like, Jesus, dude, wow.
So he just released something today because nobody's heard from him for
Nobody's
like 3
seen him since
he released
Wednesday.
he released
Oh my God.
he released a statement today, and he's just like, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. But it's went like, oh God.
I like the Babylon Bee. Joe Biden officially drops out of the race.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I like the Babylon Bee for the Trump getting shot. CNN reports Abe Lincoln nods off during play.
Oh man, they're gonna make a lot of money during this election. All right, so
for all of our non-American viewers, if you are out there, is it funny? No, but we have to laugh, because if not,
yeah,
we would just go
we would
crazy.
cry. It's so sad we have to laugh. The other news that the internet was freaking out about this week was Lady Deadpool. So we got a glimpse of her in the trailer. They don't really show her face, they just show her body and her hair. So that got the internet freaking out about who Lady Deadpool could be. I have my pick, which is, so there's like two sides right now, and I'm on the third side, but there's two sides. One, of course, is Taylor Swift, who's been rumored to be in this freaking movie.
Sorry.
And Marvel fans have been wanting Taylor Swift. The other is Ryan Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively, who a lot of people think it could be. So there's like a big divide against for the Swifties and the Blakies, or whatever they're called on that side. I am of the opinion, and I've heard other people say this as well, it's probably just going to be Ryan Reynolds' face on a woman's body. So that's what I'm thinking.
It does make sense.
You guys have a vote that you want to go with?
I mean, if it's just not Taylor Swift, I don't care. Like,
Someone loves Taylor Swift.
no, as long as it's not Taylor Swift, I don't
Oh,
care.
I thought you said as long as it's
No,
Taylor
God,
Swift.
Yeah. I thought Thomas was
No.
coming out as a Swiftie.
No, keep that fan base as far away from the stuff that we do as we can. 'Cause I God help us if we ever get across the streams with those guys, because they're nuts.
Jared, you got any opinions? You care?
I didn't know about this till now, so I don't have an opinion.
You don't have an opinion. So we're getting like the whole Deadpool core, because you can like see him in the shot. So that's why I started not really hating Deadpool. So I'm not too excited about that, because I like Deadpool when he was with Cable. Do you remember that run where like him and Cable were like
That
stuck
was the
together?
worst.
Yeah, him and Cable were like stuck together, and I like that. And then Deadpool just got huge after that. And I was like, no, I'm not. I don't like this anymore.
I like Nostalgia Critic when, because you know how he does like the reviews, and like a character from the movie will show up at his place of business, and they're like, "Oh God, what's worse?" It's like, it's Deadpool. It's like, worse. It's a cosplayer at a Comic-Con playing Deadpool. It's like they're the worst people ever.
Yeah, Deadpool and Harley Quinn, those are the two that, man, they were fun when they started, but they just got out of hand. Sorry, I'm looking at something up.
Uh-oh.
Is it this one?
Yes.
Yeah, it is this one. All right. So, did you guys have any other news to talk about this time?
No, not really.
Nothing.
Activision might be getting sued
For what?
by, one of my gun tubers, Brandon Herrera.
Yeah.
So he created that AK-50 video about building an AK that shoots a 50 caliber round.
Mhm.
So Activision released a trailer for their new season for Call of Duty, and they stole the gun design and put it in the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he tweeted, I was like, he's
Jeez.
like, "Hey, Activision, we need to talk because we've never talked before." He's just like, "We will be talking soon though, because I did not give permission for this to be in a game, because he owns the copyright to it. That's his property." And so,
Wow.
so all the gun tubers like, yes, make us skins in the game.
Speaking
And
of
then
gun tubers,
Ubisoft.
didn't they have huge drama? Gun tubers?
Yeah,
Oh, it's political though. I
yeah.
don't know if we can talk about that.
It's pretty crappy, but it's not their fault. What
Yeah.
happened? It's just apparently the assassin, because I don't want to say the other word, the pew pew, was wearing a Demolition Ranch shirt, which kind of sucks, because like Demo Ranch is it's basically like a kid show, because they do like, oh, let's see if this is bulletproof, and it's not bulletproof half the time. But uh unfortunately, he was wearing one of their shirts, and then got some comments on there like, oh, did Demo Ranch sponsor this guy? And he's like, no, he just bought a shirt. We don't know if he even bought it from the store. He might have gotten it secondhand to try to blend in. So, because it has like the American flag on it, and it says
I
Demolition.
was talking about the whole new terms of service on YouTube.
That too, that's a whole other thing.
Well, what's that about?
YouTube has basically said that they're not really allowing gun content, or specifically like ads on it. And
they can't be sponsored.
Yeah.
So they can't make money off of it?
Yeah.
Well, that sucks. So
Yeah, well,
it's just a hobby.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing, is that half these guys are just like hobbyists and stuff like that. But they did create their own thing called Pepper Box, which I actually signed up for, and it's completely owned by the gun tubers, and they receive all the revenue for it, which I'm kind of for, because like half of my like YouTube stuff is watching gun tubers, because that's my hobby, and so I'm all for that. And I've actually got to reach out to some of the guys and it's like, hey, I love your stuff. So but yeah,
They never blame the people who were responsible.
I know.
Well, we won't get into that.
But we're getting political now.
Yeah.
So. Subscribe to our Patreon to see that.
Well,
we need to have a Patreon. Hurry up.
When I heard it at work, it started off like, you can't show guns on YouTube. I was like, good Lord, you can't that's games, that's movies, that's everything. You can't show anything. But
yeah, I was talking to Carlos
about it.
Well, because Carlos follows Hickok 45, and he's been a part of the GunTube world for basically since it started. Like he's been doing that since like remember FPS Russia? It's like, this is FPS Russia, and he's like that guy. He's been doing it for that long, and so it's crazy.
Yeah, that's sad.
But
time to go to Rumble now.
Almost.
So there is a little thing I learned. You look at Wikipedia some days and you learn something sometimes. So I was looking at Wikipedia and it was this article about this band. Um, I don't know. I think they're called Stardust, but the album was called Stardust, right? So it was started by half of Daft Punk. So one of the guys from Daft Punk
Is it
and
Daft or Punk?
Daft Punk. So he got these two other guys. It was like a DJ and a producer, and they made this single called Stardust, and it became like one of the best-selling dance hits of like all time, right? And so Virgin, the media company, they're like, we will give you $3 million to make an album, and they're like, no, it was just that song, and they just released that one song, and it was a legendary song, and they never made anything after. They didn't make any money, so that was a cool little story, I thought. So let's go to the other thing I watched because I watched other stuff and I can't remember what. Oh, I'll talk about that later. Okay, so I watched this really interesting documentary over on Hulu, and it was called The Contestant. So
Is this
basically,
about the Japanese
The
dude?
Japanese dude?
yeah, did you guys
That's
watch this?
no, this is a very talked about thing on YouTube.
Oh, really? Well, it
Yeah.
was a good reason because this was really good. So this is a contestant guy, like it was back in 1998, and reality TV was kind of born in Japan, they were saying. Um, and it was huge. They had this like it was kind of like a variety show kind of thing where they have these people and they do challenges, like they make them walk across Africa or something like that. Um, and the show, it's like typical Japanese where like the little girls are talking and they're like ah, and stuff like that. It's like what's that Spanish one? Um, Sabado Gigante, if you know
No.
that. But yeah, so this guy, he grew up and he was picked on as a kid because he has like this really long face. So all these kids picked on him, and he learned, if I make them laugh, then I'll get some friends. So he grew up like making fun of himself to like make other people's laugh, and he grew up in where did he grow up? It was like Hiroshima, I think, and so he grew up and he's like, I like making people laugh, so I want to become a celebrity. So I'm going to Tokyo to become a celebrity. He tells his parents, and they're like, no, and please don't go. And they tell him, whatever you do, just don't get naked. So he goes to Tokyo, and the first thing they make him do is get naked. But he goes on this show, and they don't tell him what it's about. And they just have this box, and like whoever's the luckiest will win a spot on the show. So they draw stuff, and they luck out with this guy because this guy's really entertaining, and he wins this little lottery, and they right away they take him, and they take him to this apartment. And it's this little tiny apartment like you've seen on Japanese shows, and it's got like a magazine rack and a table, and that's pretty much it. It's got this little tiny kitchen, um, and the producer tells him to strip. He's like, take off all your clothes. So it's like, are you serious? So he takes off all his clothes and even his underwear. So he's completely naked. And they tell him the rules of the game. So the rules are he is trapped. He cannot leave this little apartment until he makes enough money to leave. He's got to make 1,000,000 yen, okay? And the only way he can make that money is by entering these magazine contests that they have. So that's why they have that magazine rack there, because he's supposed to enter these contests. That's the only way he can have food. The only way he can have anything. He has to live totally off these contests. And he's like, oh my goodness, I don't know what I signed up for. I'm freaking out. They have cameras in there in the room with him, but they're like, hey, we probably won't use most of this footage. But secretly they're live streaming this to the show. Well, at first they film every day and they cut it up, and it's only like, I don't know, like 15 minutes of the show. but he doesn't think they're using any of the footage. So he's in there dancing naked and making all kinds of jokes. He's got a diary that he writes in, and they kind of like read out what he's writing in there. Um, he's totally nude, so they have to cover his shame. At first they just use like this black spot, but then his name means eggplant. So they cover his genitals with an eggplant, and that's
That's where
where the
that came from.
emoji came from.
Oh
It's
my god.
that was the birth of the emoji. Um, so he's living in there. He's starving. All they give him is some crackers because they gotta feed him something so he doesn't die. But eventually, he finally wins something. He wins.
Rice.
No, he wins this stuff called fiber gel. I don't even know what it
Oh,
is, but
no.
so he wins fiber gel and he has to live out the. They stop giving him crackers once he wins something, so he gets that gel. He gets a big box of it. So he's living off that, and then he gets rice, right? So,
Mhm.
but it's raw rice, it's uncooked rice. So he's got to figure out how to cook it. So he's like experimenting. Uh, he puts the little gel package he has, puts some rice in it, and it at first it doesn't work. He like puts it next to the stove so it heats up, and finally it works, and he's all happy. Um, so he's living like this for uh eventually he's gonna be 15 months, but so he's in there for
But it did
months,
so well.
and he's like he's struggling because he's missing the outside world, and he's like going nuts in there. He's doing all the contests he can. The poor guy never wins clothes for some reason. He uh,
Doesn't he win like the first PlayStation while he's in there?
yeah, he wins a PlayStation. Um, but he doesn't have like a TV at first, I think. And then he gets a TV. So no, he gets the TV first, but it doesn't hook up to anything. They don't have cable in there. They
Mhm.
don't have an antenna because they don't want him to know that they're watching him on TV because he still thinks that they're not filming him or anything. Um, so he gets a TV, but it doesn't work. But then he gets a PlayStation, and he gets like Train Simulator or something like that. So that's what he has to play. He gets like all this weird stuff, like a pet. It's like it's a pet seal or something like it's a stuffed seal. So
Oh yeah, it's stuffed seal. He
yeah, so
loves it.
he's got that as a pet. He's like walking. He's still naked. Guy never wins clothes for some reason. He because he focuses on food, right? So he's winning all kinds of food. He gets a lot of dog food. He tries like the wet stuff. He's like, "This is disgusting." He tries the hard stuff. And he's like, "This is good." And people watching are just like laughing at him. Um, then people on the outside world, they start this rumor like, well, they probably just show us these parts and then he eats and he's like fine. It's not real. It's probably fake. So this kind of makes the producer mad. So what he does is he like starts like the first live stream for this guy. And so they're filming him live and people can like log in and watch it. And it just like it's such like a craze that it like jams up the internet and people like have to wait to get into so they can watch it. This becomes like the most watched TV show like in history, like in the world. Um, so he's going nuts, man. He's having like bad thoughts about like ending his life and stuff because he's just like he's missing the outside world and the outside contact. Meanwhile, he's doing like 400 of these contests a day or something like that, just trying
Dang.
to win. But he doesn't know how much money he has won. Because he's got to get to 1 million, right? So
Like six
eventually,
thousand dollars in US currency.
yeah, so eventually he wins like tires, and that puts him over the top, and he wins. So they're like, "Oh shoot, he won!" So the producer goes over there, and it's kind of mean the way they do it because it's like he's sleeping, and the producer sneaks into the room at night, and he's just like pointing the flashlight on. He's like, "Oh, what's going on?" And he's like, "Hey, you've won the thing. You got to your goal." And he's like, "What?" So they dress him up, and they're like, "We're gonna take you somewhere since you won." They take him to the amusement park. They buy him kimchi.
Now back in your hole.
They buy him like a big pot of kimchi, and then they take him to the airport. And he's like, well, why am I at the airport? And they fly him to Korea. So that he's in South Korea now. And they take him to this apartment, and they're like, take off your clothes. He's like, what? So they want him to do it again. And he's like, so he says later on that in the show, it looks like he just like agrees and he starts taking off his clothes. But in reality, the producer had to like give him a big old speech and beg him to do it. And he's like, he finally does it. So the new challenge is he's got to afford a plane ticket back home, doing the same thing he did in Japan and Korea. He doesn't know Korean because like
Oh
um,
Lord.
they say Japanese and Korean are like completely different languages. So he has to teach himself Korean just so he can enter these contests. But he does because he got really good at it in Japan. So once he learns the language, he's like he's getting all the high price stuff and stuff. So he gets to the ticket price really fast, and they're like, okay, so he got there really fast. We got to bump it up. He's got to get first class now. So eventually he does, and they fly him back to Japan, and so they got him in a suit. They drive him, and they put him in this room, and he's like, oh no, not again. Is this ever gonna end? So he's in this room and they don't say anything. They just kind of leave. And he just, for no reason, he starts taking off his clothes because he thinks he's going to go through it again. And then the walls like collapse and he's like in the middle of a studio where like an audience surrounding him. He's on the show and the poor guy's just shocked, man. He's just sitting there he's just totally shocked about it. And they're laughing, they're like cheering him on, and the little announcer lady is like going up to her and is like, yeah, you won. This is your prize and stuff. And he's completely shocked. He's naked. He's standing there naked. But man, it was what did I say, like 15 months of this, and it really had an effect on his health, on his mental health, on his real health.
Speech.
Yeah, he had trouble because he afterwards he was going to be a celebrity, right? He was going to be a comedian. Um, but he had trouble with lines and he had trouble talking to other people. So he really had trouble like finding his place after this thing happened.
You want old boy? This is how you get old boy.
So he goes back home and that earthquake happened. If you guys remember that in the fallout.
Oh God.
Yeah. So luckily his parents are okay, and he just like makes it his job to help the community. So he goes around and he's a celebrity and he's like says hi to the people and helps them with food and stuff like that. So that's kind of how he redeems himself. So then he has got this plan. He's like, I'm going to help my hometown by raising money and I'm going to climb Mount Everest. So the first time he goes, they raise the money that with the help. Not yet, but the producer's like a whole nother story that I probably won't get into, but because he's just makes it look like he's like this evil guy. I mean, the guy calls him like the devil. But he goes to Mount Everest, and when he's there, they have an earthquake. The poor guy he lives through this earthquake, so he's there helping the Tibetans and trying to recover after this earthquake. So he's like, oh man, he's all down. And then the producer comes and he's like, hey, I want to help you try to do this.
Get away from me.
Get in the room.
So finally he goes to Everest, and it was a really good story, man. It was just like this poor guy. I mean, if you think about it, it's super dark, the thing humans do to each other, but he had something good come out of it, and he's like, he learned that the best way you can live is just to help other people, and that's
basically like how like that whole thing about the Truman Show, like, oh, why would people watch this? It's like they did.
They did, yeah.
It started a whole genre of like video or like an area of the internet where people just watch people
Yeah.
stream their lives.
exist
Yeah.
in a room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot like in Korea. I know there's a lot there.
They actually
It,
have studios produce rooms like
Uh,
in a hallway.
I was at work and I watched. I turned to Carlos and he's watching people work at like a factory. It
Yeah.
was just a stream of that. I was like, Carlos, that's creepy. Don't do that.
No, in Korea and China, they have like full on studios where they like make a persona for a person, and then like it's like in a hallway, it's like a studio, and each creator has their own room and they live stream it. It's crazy.
I know there's some dark videos on YouTube that you can find about these people who are like disappeared or like they don't know
Yeah.
where they went, and there's like this very worrying material on there, like they fear for these people's lives and stuff like that. So
I
yeah, it's just
remember when I
dark.
first saw this and I was like on YouTube, I can't remember who talked about it first, but they talked about it. And I was like, man, I hate that producer because he was just like, oh, we need you to do this. Views are because he's like, views are through the roof. We can't have this stuff. So they keep extending the time, they keep extending the price. And I was like, no, get someone else to do at least a stint of it. Just get someone else, this poor man.
Yeah, because he
And
didn't
then
know how he wanted to end it. He wanted to end it like a very big and have this big moment. He just couldn't figure out how to do that. So he kept putting this guy through everything.
And then he had like this like Wilson like relationship with the stuffed seal, and I was like, this is sad. Stop it.
Oh man. Part of me though says, could I do this? Could I? I mean, I couldn't do the contestant stuff, like the winning stuff. I'd give up pretty fast at that. But could I live solo for like that long? I don't know.
Maybe, but
If I
okay.
had like my stuff,
Yeah.
yeah, easily. But if I had to earn my stuff through like
Contests?
winnings, no
Yeah.
way.
They told him, please don't get naked. He lived his whole life naked. All right, so that's what I was doing. What do you guys have to talk about this time?
I don't have much, so I can start off. Just real fast with YouTube. Did I close the page? I might have closed the page, but
My God,
there's
man.
one YouTuber I started watching called Dink Pods. He's this Australian guy. He looks at like old tech. So he looked at like the first smartphone, which was one of those like those classic like cell phones like the 80s one that's just a
Yeah,
brick.
the block.
Yeah. The first smartphone was that, but it opened up like that, like a book. And then it had a screen and you could do like spreadsheets and it had like 30 megabytes of data or storage. You're like, my God. But it was like high tech back in the day. And
I love reading older books about technology, or not older books about technology, but older books that have technology in it. Like what is it? Tom Clancy, the Patriot games. When he gets shot and he's in the hospital, they bring out his computer. They're like, "What is this thing?" He's like, "This is my laptop." And it's like he's like, it has 1 megabyte of memory. I can hold almost 400 pages of documents in here. I'm like, oh my God.
High roller. He said the price of what it would be back then. It was like ridiculous. It was like $3,000 or something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Um,
I say that, but you know how much the freaking Apple VR headset costs is like
$4,000.
like $4,000. It's like, holy crap.
I started watching this because he had one that was the worst headphones I've ever bought, and I was
Skull
like,
candies from Target.
no,
Dollar
it's
Tree?
this random company that makes like the over the head like
Oh,
headphones, but you can put earbuds in them, and it's like, and they advertise it makes them real headphones. So you just put your buds in there, and it makes some headphones, guys.
So it's just like holds the
My
earbud.
God.
Yeah, it just holds them like right there.
that's like making your own speaker out of the cup at work, you know.
Hey, those get intricate.
I know.
But he has a ton of great videos like that. He talks about the Zoom, talks about the first MacBook. It's just,
Hell yeah.
it's really cool seeing how technology like
The
progressed
world
and how ununique it is now. It's just all
the
like
world
little
made a
bricks.
mistake, just like the 8-track. It should have gone the way of the Zune. Like, I'm sorry, but we all had the Zunes, man, and that was the way to go.
The Zune was so creative and like fun. And
Best
that's what and
best
that's
organization of music in a library I've ever had in my life.
Ever, yeah,
Like ever.
It will never be topped.
No. You could find instantly what you're looking for without
just
any effort.
it's so sad seeing how like uncreative people have gone with technology. It's just
Yeah,
it all looks the same. There's nothing unique, and I was like, man,
it's sad. What happened, man?
Apple happened.
Apple.
As I say,
Um,
typing on an iPhone here.
Which he's like a huge Apple guy, but he's even like, man, this whole stuff's cool and like unique.
Even like old Apple stuff was cool.
Yeah,
The
it's like
Macintosh.
colorful and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh
like,
yeah, the Max.
The Macintosh is awesome.
And then I watched not really a new channel to me, but CZ's World. He typically does like horror stuff. Talks about like horror
Sounds familiar.
horror timelines, the timelines of like Freddy Krueger's like whole timeline of like what happened and stuff like that. He had one video that interests me because you guys know I'm a fan of the Elder Tobies because I like Teletubbies as eldritch beings, so
It's Elder Gods.
I'm all about that. So he had a video called Teletubby Horror. He just goes over the different ones that have cropped up, and like he mentioned the Elder Tubbies, and I was like, great stuff.
Why did people think they were evil back then? Like pastors and stuff, like Teletubbies are demonic. It's like,
I don't
why?
know. I still don't understand that.
What brought that up?
Everything in the late 90s and like
Was
early 2000s
from Satan.
was Satan. Like
Yeah.
Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z. I mean, most
I
anime.
found out a huge portion thought Yu-Gi-Oh was satanic,
Mhm.
which they do have some satanic.
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean those are cards at least,
But they were claiming like the cards are telling kids to do evil things, like sacrifice stuff, and they're like, no, you can see the card right here. There's never been an iteration of what you're saying.
but Teletubbies, how did that get demonic?
I never got that. It was like,
just because they're freak looking.
they worship a giant sun baby.
Oh, that's true.
But that was a good video. I like Teletubbies does horror, especially like Me Cannon's video where it's just an awesome like industrial rock music video. You're just like, hey. So speaking of Me Cannon, he put out an album. I don't think it's solely him. Like I think the music is done by another
Teletubby,
an artist. By the Elder Tubs themselves.
The Tubwubs.
Listen to it. There's a couple good songs. Most of it is not my thing. It's just not my thing. That's as harsh as I'll get.
Shockingly, though, he can sing. Like it's kind of crazy.
I don't know. It's kind of just like his character voices, but singing. So I'm like, I don't know if this works.
Have you heard him sing? Is it "Down with the Sickness"?
No, it was the Kill Switch Engage song.
Kill Switch Engage. Sorry, my bad.
I
always get songs wrong on here and on our That's Good Pasta song. Always get it wrong.
That's
Sorry,
your
guys.
thing. That'll be your thing.
But no, my thing. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't my thing. I like how it was a mixture of metal and like electronic music. And the only other thing I did was I watched an anime called Hell's Paradise, which at first, because I was watching.
My God, the 2000s and early late 90s were right. It's all Satan. It's all Satan.
I watched a video of like hitting gyms because I wanted to watch an anime that not everyone's watching. Just like kind of. Why did you do this?
You said hitting the gym.
He's exercising.
What?
Hidden gyms.
Oh, hidden gyms. I thought you said hitting the gym. I'm just like, all right. This anime's gonna be pumped.
I just wanted something less known. Someone recommended that. Started off, and I was like, not feeling this kind of samey kind of stuff. Halfway in, I was hooked. I was like, oh man. And the opening song is so catchy, and like I put it on a playlist immediately. And the characters are great. I like the premise. It's very into like kind of Taoism. And instead of like your normal like Japanese regular like
Shintoism.
Buddhist or like Shinto religion. It was about Taoism. Um, and that led me to I was like, is it Tao or Dao? Because I never.
I would say
It's
Dow.
It's the
spelled
same.
it's
It's spelled
spelled
differently,
Tao,
but pronounced
but
the same.
yeah, it's
Or
spelled Tao, but said Dao.
actually, you can
That's how
just
I was told anyway.
yeah. I looked it up. You can do either or.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It just depends on how you write it and say it. And I was like, oh, that's random, but okay.
It's like GIF and GIF.
No, there's a definite right way to say that.
There is a different right way.
But it was really cool. I like it. And at the end, because I thought it was an older anime, I thought it was like 2005 or something like that. Not that it looks bad. I just thought it was older. And when it ended, like it was on the last episode, there's no way that I was like, there's no way they can tie this all up. What's going on? And then it ended. I was like, no. And so I had to look it up. I was like, oh god. And there was like season 2 was announced immediately after the 13th episode was broadcast. I was like, thank God. So I can't wait for the second season, but it was awesome. It was done by Mappa. It looked great. The animation was good. A lot of good voice acting. And that opening, man, it's so good. But that's all I did.
Hell's Paradiso, is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When I'm hitting the gyms.
The gyms.
Hitting the gyms.
Oh, my turn. My bad. So starting off with some gun tubers. This is as political as I'll get. Brandon
Are we
Herrera,
allowed to?
Brandon Herrera and Garantham both did ballistic gel comparisons of Trump getting pew-pewed. And I can say right now that the ballistics on that dude, I don't like, people are like, oh, he just got shot in the ear. How painful can it be? Like the balloon effect on his ear, I was like, oh my God. Because okay, so like when it went in, because they did it like a few times, when it goes in, the ear balloons out to like this size because just the balloon effect of a projectile. And they're just like, dude, do you know how much this would hurt? Because then you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
just so very interesting and kind of disproving a lot of people like, oh, it was fake. It's like,
I was like,
nope.
fake.
Definitely
They
not
showed
good
it
fake.
on TV.
If he had not turned like his head literally a centimeter to the right, he would have gotten his head blown off. So very interesting. They're just like, yeah, don't listen to the couch chair mafia saying, oh no, it was a fake or whatever. It's like, no, that hurt.
I keep thinking you have a name tag.
Oh, it's my Naruto shirt.
Yeah. I thought it was a name tag. I was like, why?
Like, who does he work for?
The deep state. And then Kentucky Ballistics had a pretty cool video. He shot a Garand, an M1 Garand. It's the World War II rifle that the Americans use. So it normally
cool noise.
it normally shoots a 30-06, which is a pretty hefty round. It's about that big. So this one shot a 458 Winchester Magnum. It's like that big, and it's about that big around. He's just like, this might actually really hurt me. So he fired it. He's like, it went through like in an armored truck, like all the way through. He's just like, yeah, this would definitely be pretty deadly, but you know, all of these rounds cost like $9 a round, and this gun costs like $8,000 to make. So not for everybody.
And my shoulder's dislocated, but
Yeah.
good gun. Good gun.
Also, he's just also like, yeah, that really just kind of hurts. And then the gun tubers actually did a whole production with Corridor Digital called Tiny Guns. They did a whole
like Muppet Babies.
Yes, that's exactly it. So they made like this World War II drama, but like they're having like this shootout, but their guns are like this tiny. Like, oh, and like the pinnacle of like the best part of this whole dramatic episode. So Garand Thumb is in it, and he gets his thumb cut off by a Garand. Kentucky Ballistics gets shot in the neck. In real life, this guy actually had a 50 caliber explode on him, and the only way he saved himself was putting his own thumb in his neck. He actually has a shirt called "Stick a Thumb in It," and in the episode, so Grand Thumb loses his thumb, and they're like, "Oh God, Scott, you're next. We need something to plug it up." And Grand Thumb like picks up his own thumb. He's like, "Here, stick." It's just, it was really funny. It's super offensive, but it's great.
They need to get that guy from Instagram that plays with Clay.
Oh, Fuego.
The best commentary. Fuego.
And then watch some other YouTube. This guy called Retcon 404. He does some what do you call it, analysis and reviews of like anime, and he did a bunch of the Gundam ones. So he did one of G Gundam, Gundam Wing, the original OA MS team, and he's like, man, like some of these are just so good. Some of these episodes are so awesome. And he's talking about G Gundam. He's like, this is so stereotypically like offensive, but it's like awesome at the same time. And he's like, and then you get to the Americans. My God, did they hate us in the
80s? Someone finally brought it up like we did.
Do you remember that? Like watching that?
Oh yeah,
like,
I remember
we're getting
that.
to the American Gundam. It's like what?
So sad.
It's the lamest Gundam. You're just like, wow, okay, Japan.
Jiminy Crockett, what?
And
it was so disappointing. I was like, yay, our Gundam. Oh God.
Oh, no. Well, what's funny is
Canada had a bear.
Well, he was talking about this one. He's like, a lot of people think like, Wing was their first one or the original was their first one. He's like, G Gundam was my first. And he's like, do you know how like skewed the perspective on like having the rest of the series is after you watch that one? And then you watch the original, and you're just like, oh God, no. Child soldiers in war. Not like a shonen tournament arc.
It's weird because I always like get them all mixed up, like they all aired at the same time. Because I remember watching like Wing, the original, and G around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, because like Wing showed up first, and then G showed up, and then the original in OA MS team was showing on Adult Swim, not Toonami. And so, because that was more mature, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah, they had a bunch of
like cuss words.
movies and.
Yeah, I remember Shark's Counterattack like showing on Adult Swim. That was a big deal.
What if a man grew up and his Gundams were G Gundam, SD Gundam, and Gundam Seed?
That's Thomas right here.
I can't say what I want to say on YouTube.
You have that man right here
because we'll get banned instantly. So I'm going to keep my thoughts to myself and say them after we stop recording. I have a lot to say afterwards. The next one I watched is a guy called Jabro Games. It's a play on Jaburo from Gundam, and he did a review of the Mobile Suit Gundam. Is it Quest to Jaburo? Like that one Gundam original Mobile Suit game, and then the one that my favorite Gundam game ever was Mobile Suit Gundam Federation versus Xeon, where you could have like your own control of your own ship, and you basically lived out the 1 year war. And it's an awesome game, but he's just like, it's pretty cool because you get to live out the entire war, and you also get to fight the other like main cast of the crew. He's like, but don't try to kill the crew or the main cast because you'll instantly get murked. He's like, you are a side character. You're not the main character. So yeah, that's pretty much all the YouTube I had.
Wait, what about Oklahoma Gun Guys?
Anyway, no. So I did watch The Boys, the new season.
I've heard some bad,
it's not
great things.
It's not good at all. Like I liked the last season, the third season a lot. I thought it rode that line of like insulting everybody. And this one, like, it was just like cool. It's definitely an election year, you can definitely tell. And the whole ending was kind of in bad taste, I think, because it was right after the Trump the pew-pewing, and it yeah, it's like some stuff's like you might have needed to hold off on this episode or just redone it. So kind of in bad taste, and I didn't like a lot of the character development in this. It was just, I mean, like it's always kind of gross. Like, I mean, it's the boys, but at one point I was just like, that's too far from me. I don't like that. Like, this is not did not leave a good taste in my mouth. Um, so I attempted to watch The Acolyte again. I tried.
The whole thing?
Yeah, I got up to episode 4 because I was like, okay, maybe I'm trying this wrong, and I couldn't. So I was like, the last episode showing, I'll watch some reviews on that. Yeah, that is the worst bit of writing I think I've ever seen in my life from Star Wars. And I watched the prequels when I was younger. Like,
It's
I know
terrible.
I know bad writing, and oh my god.
I didn't watch it. I watched EFAP watch it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Did you? Somehow they made the little evil badger thing evils. I mean, the little cute badger.
the little
evil.
badger thing. Like, no, I love Critical Drinker. Like, whose side are you on?
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, but the bleeding effect. I'm sorry.
That's
That's one of the worst.
stupid.
That's one of the worst changes that they've made from the original canon. Like, and I love the reasons. Like, oh, when Anakin killed all those people, it wasn't out of anger, and they're like, no, you're right. Killing all those kids was, his headspace was in a different space. Don't worry about that. And then like the whole duel between him and Kenobi is so awesome with the two blue lightsabers fighting each other. It's so iconic. And they just completely blow that. And the fact that Plagueis shows up and basically steals the whatever crap from the witches. Like, oh, look, it's a guy stealing the techniques from women. I'm like, oh my god.
Looking like a creeper.
Yeah. And then Yoda shows up out of nowhere, and guess what? Okay, cool.
And that makes Yoda look terrible because he knows all this stuff is happening.
It just makes the Jedi look incompetent, not like they were tricked, which I think was so much better in the original story. Was that the Jedi were deceived? They were taken down from the inside. That was part of it. That was like, I love the part that they couldn't sense Palpatine because Palpatine orchestrated the Clone Wars, so it would distract the Jedi from focusing on the true evil. I'm like, that's such a good idea. And yeah, we give George Lucas a lot of crap for having cheesy lines, but the dude knows how to set up a story really well. And he doesn't get enough credit for that. And my God, I love what Critical Drinker says. Like, no one on this should ever be near a writer's room again.
I know.
I hate Disney Star Wars, like all of it, like Clone Wars, like Rebels, everything.
I'm sorry, I tried watching.
I'll accept it all if you just say this isn't canon, because it's just so dumb. It's so bad.
It was so destructive to the prequels.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was bad, and then someone explained that OSHA pretty much invented the force choke, and I'm like, oh.
Right. So Darth Bane had nothing. I mean, freaking Exar Kun had nothing. You know what? Cool.
She is the first one to use a force choke. It's like, no, don't do this.
Ever?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. She invented the force choke.
Oh my lord.
And I was like, no.
He's the first Sith.
Because it was the whole thing about, you remember at the beginning where the guy told you have to kill without using a weapon.
Oh my gosh, she did the whole.
So that was her killing without a weapon.
She still has not killed without a weapon.
So what's Force Lightning then? Nothing, I guess.
She hasn't invented it yet, so we don't know. She'll invent it.
We'll wait till she invents that, Thomas.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but this woman was what's his face? Weinstein's assistant. She's probably got dirt on people's how she got this job. I swear to God. Like,
she has no writing talent.
No.
I kind of was liking the fight between Soul and
and that guy. Yeah, that was kind of an inventive fight where they actually had some of the.
It looked good.
The kung fu, like I like that because that's like Star Wars is supposed to be like based on Asian filmmaking, which I think that's great. add that. But when it has no context of being like, there's no
Did you
point to it.
see
There's no point to
Saul,
this.
Saul and May's fight where they're just like,
Yeah. Oh, and oh god.
Ocean and what's her name's fight where they're
oh yeah,
like fist fighting.
Osha and May. Sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
I love the when Soul and I don't remember the guy's name.
Smilo Ren.
Smilo Ren were like this, and like the lightsaber is like spewing like the sparks off, and they're like, oh, and then it cuts back to Dooku and Anakin just like this close, like talking to each other. It's like, so did the lightsaber advance a lot in 100 years? Or
Osha fixed them.
I also
safe.
It's also so like destructive to itself because I like Soul. I was like, he's a cool guy.
He deserves
And
so
then-
much better.
And then she's like, oh, it was all his fault. He killed people and like he's a piece of crap. I was like, Jesus,
It
lady.
wasn't his fault. He didn't
No.
do anything. He tried to save him.
None of these people did anything. I saw the episode where they explained, and they were like torturing people and like doing the mind tricks and stuff. I was like,
These people
what
are
is this?
evil. And then she's like turning into a forced like phantom.
Monster?
Yeah, and they're like killing.
Oh my
Yeah.
god!
And
I wish it just.
poor Soul, man. He deserves so much better. And at the end, he's like crying there. He's like, "I love you, Osha. Don't be bad." And she chokes him, and it's like, man, it was terrible. It's dead. It's dead. It's dead.
Oh yeah, they
Acolyte
can
has killed it.
they can mind wipe people now. Like just.
Oh,
Smile Ren.
yeah.
He can just like.
And
oh,
why
whoop.
did they do that? Can't they
It
just
doesn't-
take her with them?
I'm about to say she goes with them. Like, what's the point? So
Oh my
yeah,
God.
Dude, please! I hope they lose so much money that they have to sell Star Wars, and then the new owner is just like, all that's gone.
Yeah,
We're going back to where it started.
Start over.
but yeah, I tried and no. So I have
What
one
did
more
they
thing.
do?
So
I'm so glad they didn't get hold of Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
No, they're not. They gotta stay away from it. Don't get it.
That's next season.
I don't think they're gonna do it. I think that was what the High Republic was for. Is that replace the Old Republic? Are you in a jacket now?
I am. I got one. Or, yeah.
In the 400-degree weather.
Where'd it go? Oh goodness.
Can't find my product placement.
So I got this one. So this is a fire retardant one. So like a $265 jacket. I got this for $25. And it's my size. It fits me.
Oh, you
perfectly.
finally got the sponsorship?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, sweet.
I had to pay for it, but I got it.
Ah, dang it. Please, Carhartt. Please.
Do you know how much Carhartt that man wears? We deserve like $1.
There's my Carhartt hat right there.
We'll do ad reads for $1.
We'll make him wear it every episode for $1.
I do wear it every episode, right here,
Where's
Right
our
on-
$2?
right on my forehead, right there, like Joseph said.
You sponsor us, he'll get a tattoo. I swear. Well,
Dude, he will.
Yeah, I'll do that. If we get a sponsorship from Carhartt, I'll get a tattoo. That's all I
I
got.
did watch something. I watched Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2. This was the boring middle part. It focused on Psycho Pirate's history and Supergirl's history, and it was just kind of boring. It got better at the end when like all the Batmans were fighting and stuff. Batman Beyond was on it, so that was cool. And then they waste so much time on these boring stories, and like they had Commandy, the last boy on Earth, and his story was great, and he was with like Solivar, and that story was awesome, and they just wasted so much time on these boring stories. And I'm ready for part 3 now. I finally finished The Fifth Heart. It took me forever, but I finally finished it. So this was the Fifth Heart. So this was the book I was reading. It's a Sherlock Holmes mystery. And I liked it. I really liked it. I liked what they did with Sherlock Holmes. He is not like the Sherlock Holmes we know. He kind of had like to invent himself. He basically is like an actor, and he had to invent the whole like detective stuff. He was actually like born on the streets, so he wasn't a gentleman. So he had to kind of like make himself into a gentleman, and I really like what they did. It was a real neat story. So
It's like Darkwing Duck in the new DuckTales where he was an actor, but he made it real.
Oh yeah. Forgot about that. Yeah, so if you like Sherlock Holmes, go check it out. All right, Thomas is back to say goodbye. We can't hear you, Thomas.
Sorry, I had to go to the bathroom. My bad.
Carhart bought his voice. You
You
can't use his likeness.
All right, any last words from you guys?
Don't trust the federal government.
I
Don't
hope Star Wars is good again one day.
don't let a slight incline stop you from doing your job.
We're gonna get banned.
Shadow ban now. Please throw us some subscriptions, throw us some likes, help us out, man.
Thank you, everybody. By the way, we're up to 106 now, which is
And Michael has to watch that movie,
We
so thank you.
are watching the director's cut of Rebel Moon, so that's fine. So please notify yourself for even more good stuff to come, and we will see you next time. Bye.